Told you guys we were doing back-to-back shows today. It's injury report. Screwed it up 8 seconds in. It's injury board day or injury replacement board day, but not injury replay board day. That was the incorrect way to say it. But we live, we learn, we improve. Hi, everybody. I'm Dan Bespris. You can find me on Twitter at Dan Bespris, DanBesbris. We are, it's Royal. I'm like 125 follows away from 30,000. So please come on over there. It's pretty amazing. Apparently, that's a big deal in some circles. Maybe not. I don't know. It's one of those weird things. And I know you guys want me to jump straight into the fantasy here, but I both do and don't care about it at the same time. How's that possible, you ask? Because I'm fully aware that social media is dumb, but also it's pretty cool. Like 30,000 is a pretty big number, and we need it. We need it to get our fantasy basketball information. So find me over there. You can also follow Old Man Squad on the Twitters. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Please like the video as we're settling in. Let's talk hamburgers. Oh, this show is brought to you by FanDuel and the FanDuel Sportsbook. Thanks, guys. Love you. Here's the injury report. Oh, did it twice in the same show. Injury report. It is the burger board. I have assigned burgers to different players based on how great they are with their fill-in job. I think we're far enough into the season now where I don't need to do the preface on what a burger is. Just suffice it to say that the 3 burger plays are guys that I think are between rank 25 and 50, roughly. The 2 burger plays are the guys that I think are between 50 and 75. The 1 hamburger guys are the 75 to 100 range, and the 0 burgers or I'm tracking you zone is guys that are either sitting outside the top 100 in their fill-in duty or haven't figured out where they belong yet. It's one of the two. Because I don't know these things without seeing it. You could guess. We'll get a lot of them right, but not all of them. And I want to make sure that we're pretty clear on what the hell is going on everywhere. So let's start with the triple burger. Same guy. Has been for a while, but he's out right now, which makes it less fun. And that's Grayson Allen. He's the only 3 burger name I've got on the board. He's a guy that's been pushing second round value at times. He's number 30 in 13 games on the season so far. And honestly, like obviously the Jalen Green absence is a part of it. And that's why he's putting up this magnitude of number. But a lot of what he's doing is extremely repeatable. Frankly, his free throw number, I think, will get better over the course of this year. So this is just going to be a giant year for Grayson Allen. If we picked him up at the end of drafts, which I did everywhere, assuming we were going to have a fill-in for the first 2 to 3 weeks of the year before Jalen Green came back, and now he appears to be so much more than that. Plus, Green's out another 3 weeks. So neat. We're going to get, 6 to 7 weeks of Grayson Allen really rolling when he gets back from his quad contusion. And then I think he's going to be a rest of season guy. But, at that point, we'll take him off the burger board. Right now, I can't take him off the burger board because we don't know for sure that he's going to be a rest of season type. I just think he will be. On to the 2 burger plays, because I was the only one in the 3s. It's hard to get into the 3 zone. Although Khalil Ware has made a damn strong case to be in the triple burger zone. Ware's number 36 on the season now. Basically, since Bam went down, he's been a first rounder on averages of 13 and 13 with a 3-ball, 1.5 steals, and 2 blocks a game. Beast. You know what? Screw it. It's fun to have 2 guys in the triple burger zones. Let's move them over there while you guys are watching the show so you can see that's more fun. Bam is questionable, though. It sounds like Ware is about to fall flat on his face. You guys might not remember this, but he literally wasn't playable when Bam was in the last time around. Shrug emoji. Maybe he's played well enough that they'll let him do stuff this time around, but also the Heat have a lot of options. So be forewarned. Now let's go to the 2 burger guys. He's out for we don't know exactly how long, but Kelly Oubre Jr. was rolling along at a 2 burger clip with both Embiid and Paul George out, but PG's back now, so we got to adjust that. And we'll adjust Oubre when he comes back to find out where he is with or without Joel Embiid. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. What's Oubre been so far? 78. Oh, that's really more of a one burger guy. We'll leave him where he was, but he'll get downgraded almost for sure because Paul George is back. Ryan Rollins remains firmly entrenched in two burger town. Rollins is number 50, so he's damn close to getting into three burger zone, but yeah, we got to leave him here. The 51% shooting's been slowly coming down. Not that his rank has changed all that much. He was like around high 30s, low 40s, and he's dropped back about a round lately. And Giannis is now out for a couple of weeks. So that's just more for Ryan Rollins, baby. And maybe that pushes him up into three burger zone. So let's put KPJ and let's also list Giannis on the board here. And there's a chance that he could actually slide over into that triple burger. Ooh, delicious. It's almost too big to bite. Rollins is at 17.5 points, 2.5 threes, about 4 boards, 5 assists, 1.7 steals on good percentages. Good field goal, not great free throw. Really strong year for him so far. Knuppel. He's number 85 on the year, but over the last 3 weeks, he's number 75. And over the last 2 weeks, he's number 40. Now, I'm not going to push him into three burger town. That's too much. Because with LaMelo Ball back, I do think that he takes a little bit of a hit. But, and we talked about this, I think it was at the beginning of this week or the end of last week, people were asking, what do we do with Knuppel when Ball comes back? And I was like, look, there's a chance that this dude played himself into a new level of confidence where he might still be decent even as guys start to come back. And it does kind of look like that's the case with the LaMelo return, where Knuppel still looked good. I don't know that he's going to get, 15, 16 shots a game as this team gets fully healthy, but they're going to play fast. And eventually Colin Sexton's going to get phased out almost completely. Trey Mann is doubtful with ankle issues for their next one. So all that's just opening up little bits more for Knuppel. And so you don't move on. I think the free throw number comes down from 91. I think there's a really good chance that the field goal number comes down from 47, 48 because he is taking so many three balls. This is over the last 2 weeks, by the way. That's not for the entire season. He's at 88 for the year, 46.5 from the field. I don't know that the steals stay as high as they've been, but also I don't really care. I think he could get 12 to 13 shots a game, and that feels like a guy that could hold near the edge of the top 100 if the rebounds can stick. That might actually be the biggest question mark. As this team gets all the way healthy, can Knuppel still get 6 boards a game? But let's see what happens. He's not a pre-drop, basically. You want to hang on to him through the Brandon Miller return, see what happens at that point. Jaime Jaquez Jr., he's another guy where you're not going to pre-drop. He's number 105 on the season because he has these weird gaps in his fantasy game. Over the last 2 weeks, he's number 109, so he's been extremely consistent. He's just not that great of a foul shooter. He doesn't get nearly as many defensive stats as it seems like he should. Because you look at the rest of his fantasy numbers and you're like, ooh, points on good field goal percent with boards and assists. Surely this is a guy who gets some steals. And the answer is, 0.6 steals a game, 0.3 blocks, no three-pointers. So he's doing it on medium volume field goal percent, some points, rebounds, and assists. And so as Tyler Hero comes back, it does kind of feel like that's going to fall on its face. I'm going to move Jaquez down while you guys are watching, by the way. You may or may not agree with this assessment, but I don't actually care because it's my board and it's not yours. Because of the holes in his 9-cat game, he's more of a one-burger guy. But if you're punting threes, he rockets up the board. If you're punting steals, he actually rockets up the board as well. But the three punt is probably the more common of those two. And the last name on the double burger board, the guys that I believe will be ranked somewhere between like the end of the 4th and, early 7th round, so that 50 to 75 range, is Dylan Brooks, who, much like Grayson Allen, I think is probably a fantasy play the entire year because he's the third usage guy on this team. Go figure. But he needs a lot of it. He's at 2 steals a game. That probably doesn't hold the entire year, although it always felt like he was a guy that should get more steals than he actually was getting. Very, very, very good free throw percent. Probably comes down a little bit. I think it'll be good there, but I don't think it'll be 91%. So Brooks, while he is number 44 on the year right now, which would classify him as a triple burger, I think he probably settles more into the double. And then when Jalen Green comes back, he's probably more like a top 100 kind of play. So he might be a rest of season guy, but we just don't really know yet. So for now, we'll leave him on the injury replacement board, and we'll deal with the after effects of that later on. Mid-show break to remind you guys to please check out the subscriptions, the memberships, whatever you want to call it. It's 99 cents. It is so little, but when a lot of you guys do it, it's actually not that little for me. And as you guys have heard many times, I'm just trying to cover my childcare expenses. So the nanny and baseball and swim lessons and all that BS, that kids cost money. I don't want you guys to pay for their food. That's crazy. I just need to make it so that me doing all of this fantasy stuff all the time for free pays for the childcare I need to do all this fantasy stuff all the time for free. That's it. Right now, the podcast slowly on the grow. I love that. Podcast can, honestly, the podcast is taking care of most of this by itself. And that's why I was able to set the Patreon and the YouTube membership at just 99 cents. Because I was like, look, I can get a few hundred people probably to do 99 cents, and then we're all set. That's it. We're looking for 500. We're very close to 300 right now. So if you've been thinking about it, you're on the fence, what do you get? Not much. You get a monthly subscriber pod that has nothing to do with fantasy basketball, and you do get a little bit better access to me because if you post on the YouTube comments and you're a YouTube member, I can sort by that, so I'll see when you guys actually post stuff. And in Patreon, you can send me a message over there. I'll get it if you really need it. Those would be the two best ways to get a hold of me. So that's what you get right now. I know, like, the point isn't that you get stuff. The point is that you are basically fueling a locomotive to get us to that childcare coverage marker, and I think we're going to get there. Also, again, big thank you to FanDuel and the FanDuel Sportsbook for being our title sponsors here on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. We'll move through the one-burger names a little bit faster because I don't think they're as critical as the bigger names. Nickeil Alexander-Walker has been putting up solid numbers with, most of the year, but he's number 117 overall. He has holes in his fantasy game like some of these other guys, scores the ball well, decent free throw numbers, not a ton else. Defensive stats are fine, but not great. I think he probably does hover around the top 100, and so I would make him a Trey fill-in. Isaiah Stewart actually has the shot to be a little better than this, but Tobias Harris is getting close. That's number one. And number two, Stewart keeps getting himself into foul trouble. He got hurt when he had his opening to do stuff. I just think he's like a top 90 kind of fill-in guy, and I don't know that his minutes are ever going to get all the way up near 30, but keep an eye on the Tobias Harris thing because they could fall on his face. Royce O'Neal had a couple of poor shooting games that's dragged him down a little bit, but for the most part, he's a one-burger play with all these guys out because he hits a bunch of threes, gets rebounds, assists, and steals. It's a fun combination. It's allowed Royce to be number 83 on the season overall, so that's a pretty easy one to categorize as a one-hamburger play. AJ Mitchell has been one of the tougher ones to try to figure out where he slots on this board. He's number 70 on the year, which technically slides him into the two-burger town, but I do think a lot of that's because there have been 3 full rotation or partial rotation guys out for a lot of that time. Alex Caruso's been in and out. Aaron Wiggins has been out for a couple of weeks. Isaiah Joe missed time earlier. Obviously, Jalen Williams, the full rotation dude, has been out the entire year. Chet's missed a couple of ball games in there also. And that's allowed AJ Mitchell not only to have, Dort's back. I got to change that. Take his name off of there. That's allowed AJ Mitchell to have like a triple size opening. But I think with just Aaron Wiggins out, and that's pretty much where we're at now. Oh, and Jalen Williams, obviously. I think he's more of like an 80 to 100 range dude. And that's why I put him in here. Davion Mitchell's had a very up and down season so far. He's number 123 overall, but that was with one really bad game to start the year, or one really good game, to start the year, and then like 3 bad ones in a row. And then the last 2 weeks, he's number 87. Good field goal percent, not great free throw, mostly assists and steals. He's like Isaiah Collier, but with some 3-pointers and better field goal percent. And so I'd rather go the Davion route there. And I think this is about where he belongs. Yusuf Nurkic could be a two-burger guy, and he certainly has been over the last 1 week while he's playing 32 minutes a game. I just don't believe that the 3.3 steals is going to come anywhere close to holding. That's a number that's going to come down to 1 point something. And when he does, he'll be more like a top 100 type of play. on the shoulders of rebounds, assists, and some steals, maybe an okay field goal percent, although that seems to fluctuate pretty hard on its own. DeAndre Hunter is a guy who needs maximum usage to actually have value. As soon as Darius Garland comes back, if that ever happens, by the way, DeAndre Hunter is going to fall off the face of the earth. He's already sort of like halfway off the face of the earth because he just doesn't have that great of a fantasy game. He's mostly points, usually on decent percentages. Sometimes he mixes in some rebounds. He might even fall out of the one burger zone before Garland comes back. Certainly when Garland's back, he's not going to be playable anymore. And then if Strus comes back, I don't even know how many minutes he's going to get. Andre Drummond, much like Joel Embiid, or much like Yusuf Nurkic, obviously he's because Embiid is out. Drummond is top 50 over the last week, shooting 71% with 15 rebounds during that stretch. I don't think that either of those numbers holds. I believe that Drummond falls back into the 75 to 100 range, but hey, maybe I'm being a little bit too mean to him. Jalen Tyson is out right now. If he beats this concussion before Garland comes back, I think he could probably slide into a one-burger territory, but you're not going to play him because he's out. Luke Cornett is one of the new names on the board this week, and he's coming off an absolutely horrible game his last time out, and you guys are all really mad about it, and I get that. But here's the thing about Cornett. If he gets 25 minutes or more as a starter, he will be a good source of both percentages. He'll be a decent source of rebounds. He always gets blocks. He can actually stretch the floor a little bit, not a ton, and he's going to do his best to fill in for Victor Wembanyama. Now, if Kelly Olynyk and Cornett flip-flop, you know I still have a timeshare on Olynyk Island, but Kelly's getting, 18 bench minutes, and Cornett's getting 25 to 30 starters. He had the worst game I've ever seen in my life, and I still would stick with him. But he's not going higher than one burger. Daniss Jenkins, I can't even tell you how many times I've screwed up the Daniss Jenkins arc over the last couple of weeks. I thought he was going to be a one good game guy, and then he played well for 3, and then I thought he was going to turn into a full pumpkin when Cade came back, and he was actually pretty good in this last game with Cade around. And so at this point, you just play him as a one-burger guy and see what happens. Maybe he makes it last all the way until Jaden Ivey comes back. Maybe he doesn't. Who cares at this point? You got to play it. Wendell Carter Jr., you guys know my stance on him, but Paolo's down now. That changes things considerably. His opportunity is larger. His rebounds are going to get bigger without Paolo in there getting his, 5 to 7 boards. There's just going to be more for Wendell Carter Jr. to do. And, I don't know that it sticks. Maybe he gets a little confidence going. Maybe he can keep the role after Paolo comes back. This is the first time, I think, in half a decade, probably, that I've been out here telling you guys that you need to pick up Wendell Carter Jr., but you do right now. With Paolo out, these 2 ball games, he's been much, much better. He blocked some shots. That's not a thing that's going to stick. That's just not his jam. But 15 points and then 17 points, that's notable. 18 rebounds in those 2 games, that's notable. The assists, being 2 per game instead of 1.5, that's something. More time at the free throw line, that's something. It's just a usage bump. That's the short version. So he needs to be on there as a burger play. And then we already talked about Jaquez. I shifted him over here. Let's talk about the no burgers guys, or the guys that I'm still thinking on. Still thinking on these dudes. Aaron Wiggins is out right now. When he comes back, I don't actually know that he's going to be playable because you got all these other guys back. It seemed like Aaron Wiggins needed Chet Holmgren to miss a game for him to be good. So maybe we should just roll on that one. Colin Gillespie is probably, you know what? Let's move him over, actually. He deserves to be a one-burger play. Colin Gillespie is a one-burger guy with both Jalen Green and Grayson Allen out. He was very, very good last night for Phoenix, and some of that was because it was a blowout, so he actually got minutes down the stretch that he might not have normally gotten. And even if you sort over the past week, his numbers don't look that good because prior to last night's game, prior even to the one before that, Grayson Allen and Dillon Brooks were both back in the lineup, and Gillespie was the guy getting mushed out. But now he's getting mushed back in. I don't know how much time we have with this. It doesn't sound like Grayson Allen is all that hurt. It sounds like he's questionable already for Phoenix's next ball game. So, he might even be back for the next one. So you're not racing out to pick up Gillespie. But if we find out that Grayson Allen is out again, And Gillespie's a really good play, especially if he can shoot better than, 38% from the field or something. So I like him as a one burger guy right now. We've sorted him. Deuce McBride with Jalen Brunson now. Brunson, by the way, also getting closer. I'm not super into the McBride fantasy game. He's mostly just firing threes and doing nothing else. So I'm inclined to say zero burger, which is more like a volume play. Same story for Jordan Clarkson, who's two names below him on this list. I think he's more of a volume play and not a inside the top 100. Sadiq Bey was playing relatively well, and then he went and got himself hurt. He was number 85 over his last 3 ball games. If he beats Zion back, I think we can safely assume he'll sort of slot right back into that medium usage role, which gets him inside the top 100. But if Zion comes back first, then Sadiq Bey goes to the curb. Peyton Watson with Christian Brown out is someone we are considering. Good defensive stats, very little else. He's probably a punt points play. Yes, alliterative fun. Peyton the punt points play. If you need scoring of any kind, you probably shouldn't go down that path. He's not a great percentages dude. He doesn't rebound all that much when Aaron Gordon and Nikola Jokic are both in there. That's going to soak up a lot of them. So you're really looking for steals and blocks, meaning probably more of a volume guy. I haven't made up my mind on what to do with Giannis Antetokounmpo out for a couple of weeks. It's Bobby Portis, Kyle Kuzma, or no one. If I had to guess, I'd say no one in straight 9-cat. For head-to-head leagues, it's probably leaning towards Kuzma. And for Roto, you're probably leaning towards Portis. Because Bobby has the better 9-cat game. And he could also see a larger uptick. Kuzma's already playing 28 minutes a ball game with 12 shots. That number could go up to low 30s and 15 shots or something like that. Portis is at 22 minutes. There's more room for a potential takeoff. He's also, when you really dig in, that's over the last week, rather. For the season, Portis is only at 8 shots a game in 21 minutes. So, you're looking at things that could maybe level off. Could Portis, Bobby's got no defensive stats. I know he's not a good defensive stats guy, but he's probably going to get more than this. And there's just a lot of room for him to jump up. But again, my actual guess on what happens here is they both do a little bit more, and I don't know that either one of them is going to be straight 9-cat top 100 or better. They probably both end up as volume type plays, but I'm hoping for Bobbert. Kevin Huerter's actually been kind of decent so far this year. It's not an exciting play, but if Trey Jones has to miss more time, you could probably drop Huerter in there and expect right around 100 to 110 range kind of stuff. Sort of meh level fantasy performance. Or maybe Trey Jones comes back and then we'll deal with that. So what of Trey Jones? Because he was a triple burger guy, but Kobe White is back now. So there's no chance that he's still going to be a triple burger. Is there a chance Trey Jones could be a fantasy asset without being on the burger board? Is the question that we're now asking ourselves. I don't have the answer to that. But as I've said on a few shows already this week, I'm not willing to drop him until I know for certain that he's dead in the water. I'd call it 70 to 75%, somewhere in that neck of the woods, that he's going to become a drop. But also 25% is not a small number. And Trey Jones doesn't need a ton of usage to have fantasy value. Even when he was putting up these nice numbers this year, he wasn't the high usage guy. That was Josh Giddey. Trey Jones, 5.5 assists, 9 shots a game. That's nothing. He could potentially maintain that. But the problem is that they've got guys like Iota Sumu coming off the bench. They're going to try to find room for him. Modest Bazelis is going to get his 10, 11 shots a game. Huerter might continue to try to do things. So, yeah, 70, 75%, Trey Jones falls outside the top 100. But there's a chance that if he can last out on the floor long enough to collect his 5 assists and his 2 steals a game or whatever, he could potentially survive it. So I'm leaving him on the board for now. I'm praying he can be, like an 8th, 9th rounder when the team's fully healthy. But I'm also a pragmatist, and I know he probably won't be. Let's go back up one name on the board to Vince Williams Jr., who I mentioned on the show this morning. Even in his bigger role, I'm not convinced that he's going to be a 9-category guy. He's a pretty good rebounder. He can get decent assists, but I'm expecting poor percentages, very few defensive stats, and maybe like 1.5 to 2 3-pointers a game. So what does that mean? It means you probably need to be punting something. Most of you are. Most of you that play head-to-head that are watching this show are punting something. Those of you that are playing straight 9-cat roto, you might not be. Still, he's probably an ad everywhere, Vince Williams Jr., that is. Head-to-head, you just play him, and you're like, get whatever stats you can get. Try not to be too terrible in the efficiency stuff. Roto, you're probably watching another game, maybe 2 even. You've got a couple of weeks at least before Ja comes back, so you have some time to assess before deciding if you want to use a Vince Williams game against your cap. And I'm leaning towards probably not for Roto, but head-to-head, probably yes. Because if you get a dozen points and 6 boards and 6 assists, even if he shoots the ball terribly, you're like, you know what, I got some counting stats. Hopefully the percentages won't be too terrible over the next few ball games, and you just kind of live the good and the bad. I think he probably profiles as very close to a one-burger injury guy, but I don't know that he gets all the way there. And the last name on our injury board is Devin Vassell, because the Spurs are crazy kneecapped right now. No Stephon Castle, no Victor Wembanyama, no Dylan Harper. That's left a massive usage void. Those are 3 of the 4 top usage guys on the team. The 4th, De'Aaron Fox, wasn't even playing yet. Devin Vassell was the other one. So those guys were all out. And so now you've got all this stuff floating around, and it just like it has to be enough for Devin Vassell. It has to. He's number 93 over the last week while shooting 37.5%. All he's got to do is get that up into the 40s, and Vassell is probably a 2-burger guy with all of these guys hurt, but then probably goes back to being more of like a volume stream zone kind of guy once if the Spurs get healthy at any point in the not too distant future. You could also point at a lot of other guys on this team and say, I'm Harrison Barnes, volume play, Keldon Johnson, volume play. We already talked about Luke Cornett on the show. I think better than a volume play there. But Vassell is the last one here where we're still kind of assessing him, but I'm leaning towards between 1 and 2 burgers. And you could almost, just so you guys feel a little bit more confident about the decision, we'll move him over into the 1-burger table. Just so you guys know, I think this is a guy that needs to be played right now. And the question is, how good will he be? Not, is it good enough for me to start him? And that is your week 5 injury replacement board. These guys are mostly being analyzed for how good they are against a game's cap. It's up to you to figure out if they have enough volume for it to be worth your while. So like a 1-burger guy on a 2-game week, you should not play that guy. 2-burger guy, still probably not. 3 burgers, yeah. Even in a 2-game week, it makes sense. Even in a bad schedule spot. The 2-burger guys are guys that you should feel comfortable playing even in a middling schedule spots, like a 3-game week. Those guys are still usable. 1-burger guys, those are guys you're hoping have a 4-game week. But some of them, depending on how they are built and how your team is built, even a 1-burger guy in a 3-game week might be better than streaming that roster slot and blowing a bunch of moves. So this is a board to help you minimize the number of roster slots you have to stream, make up for any injuries you might have on your roster to begin with, and build out a very strong roster, even in head-to-head, but even more so in Roto, because as you get guys that are hurt, you need to make sure you don't fall too far behind in games played. Here you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 18, 24, 27. Yeah, we're still at 29 names here on the board, I think, in a quick glance. Plenty good room. Guys, consider the 99 cents. I know I'm being annoying about it. I'm going to be a little annoying about it until we actually get to our goal, and then I'll stop being annoying. And as I've said before, if the podcast revenue, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, whatever, all rolled together, is ever enough to pay for the childcare all on itself, I will just cancel all of the other stuff, and I'll just stop getting that money. Then my goal is not to be like a massively profitable fantasy analyst. My goal is to be a 0. That's all I want. Net 0. Free internet for all. That's all I want. Whatever I pay the nanny and activities and whatever else that's not like food related, basically, for the children, if I bring that in and immediately send that out, then I'm happy because I get to do this thing that I love and it makes sense from a family standpoint. So thank you for considering the 99 cents. YouTube members, it's the easiest way. But follow on Twitter if you're going to do nothing else, at Dan Besbris. Like if you're watching, subscribe however you're taking this in. Even if one of you hits that subscribe button every day, this is worthwhile, and we keep growing this, whatever you want to call this thing, sausage links of a old man squad network. I'm done. I'm out for the day. My older son's got his Little League title game later on today, so I got to get all my crap done so I can get him over to the field early enough to warm up. Let's go, baby. Let's get that rang. All right.